Journey Together finally released, and we get to play with a lot of the highly anticipated trainers Pokemon cards. And the first one that I wanted to start with was Zacian. One, because I know a lot of people got it for free, and so this might be the first deck that a lot of new people are looking at, and so I think it'd be good to provide my own take on the deck list. But two, it's also the card that I personally was looking the most forward to, at least in terms of all the trainers Pokemon. Hop Zacian for 1 energy can do 30 damage and then 30 to a bench Pokemon, which doesn't sound that impressive until we look at the other cards in the Hops package, such as the Snorlax, which is a Pokemon on the bench that gives Zacian plus 30 more damage, Hop's Choice Band, which gives Zacian plus 30 more damage and reduces the cost of its attack by 1, and then also the Stadium, which gives Zacian plus 30 more damage. If you get all 3 of these total, you'll be swinging for 120 damage onto the active, and then 30 onto the bench. And then we also have Hop's Cramorant, which if your opponent is at 3 or 4 prizes, this guy can swing for 120 for 1 energy, which, you know, can be Zero's energy because Hop's Choice Band reduces the attack cost by 1. And so, I found this version with Iron Valiant that I really wanted to focus on, because one, Iron Valiant's one of my personal favorite cards. So the general idea is that you can go for some really quick attacks with Zacian's first attack, completely ignoring the second attack, and try to put some pressure onto the opponent, knocking out a Pokemon, and then putting chip damage on something, and then using Iron Valiant to help fix your math down the line. So, for example, if you get double Valiant pins onto a 70 HP Pokemon, and then you attack with Hop Zacian, you get knocked out that way. You can also set it for devolution lines. So if there's, you know, 2 Dragapults and you manage to get enough damage on both of them, you go ahead and TM Devo, devolve both of them, and then, you know, clear the threats. And then we have a couple other consistency cards in here. We're running a lot of basic Pokemon search between the 4 Nest Balls, the 3 Hops bag, which is a it's a Buddy Poffin, but for Hops Pokemon specifically, and the Techno Radar, which can also fetch out our Iron Valiants. I do think that after playing around with the list a little bit, oh, sorry, I forgot. And then we have Spike Energy too, which if they attack you, they take 2 damage counters back. So, I think after playing around with the list a little bit, I would definitely want to add a second Fezandipiti into the deck, because a lot of people tend to focus this down, and it's kind of your only source of draw after the initial Squawkabilly burst. So having a second Fezandipiti in the deck, I think gives you the extra insurance to go on through the rest of the game without losing everything. And, you know, if a lot of people are relying on, like, Judge or Iona to stop you, or even just Unfair Stamp, which I think gets better now, having 2 Fezandipitis can be a good countermeasure for that. But otherwise, we're just trying to swing very aggressive, put chip damage on the things in the back, and take multiple knockouts at once. If you guys enjoyed the videos or are excited for more Journey Together, make sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you. Alrighty, it is currently 1 a.m., which means I'm really tired, but I kind of need to get this recording out, and I was having issues earlier with my video editing program not working, but we're at the point now that I can actually probably do this without having issues. Hopefully, we'll see. But regardless, I'm starting Bloodmoon Ursaluna here, which is not a good sign. But the rest of my hand is, like, not that bad. I have a Hops bag that immediately grabbed me a Zacian and a Snorlax, which can be pretty good. And then I have an Arven, which can go ahead and grab me, you know, Switch / Prime Catcher. And then also the Choice Band in order to allow me to attack for free. And we're going to be swinging for 120 damage on the first turn. I think one thing that kind of sucks about this deck is this is a very limited amount of board space. So typically I find myself wanting Snorlax, whatever your current attacker is, Fezandipiti, and then 2 Iron Valiants, which only leaves room for 1 extra bench slot. And in this case, you know, we're forced to sort the Bloodmoon Ursaluna. That's why I don't feel exactly comfortable putting down the Squawkabilly this turn. Even though Squawkabilly could get me some additional value, but I figured I have the research in hand already, and next turn I can just go ahead and rip the research. The Squawk isn't really progressing me towards anything else besides, you know, Techno Radar, which could be okay, but you know, I'm not too worried about that. Especially seeing as we were able to get a good start against the Goldingo here and just take out Pokemon for free. One thing about this deck that kind of sucks though is the prize mapping is really awkward. Like, you have no issue taking an initial one prize knockout, but then you have to start working really hard to find where you're going to get either that second one prize knockout, or you're just going to be playing a game where that first prize knockout doesn't actually matter. You end up taking 7 prizes. Alas, alas. We do end up paying the Arven off the top deck here, which does open up my options. I was originally just going to go ahead and drop the research, but I like this slot a little bit better just because it allows us to set the Valiants, and it can allow us to start putting some damage onto the Fezandipiti and bring it ever so closer to getting a knockout. Unfortunately, it did bump our stadium as well, so we will be missing 30 damage, but hopefully this Iron Valiant can make up the difference in the future as we swing for 90. This decision on where to put the damage is a little tricky, but I figure that we should put it onto the Goldingo that's already evolved. And the reason for that is that, yes, hypothetically, if the Gimmighoul in the back does not evolve, then there is a decent likelihood that I could knock it out with like a Valiant Pain plus a Zacian attack, or even just like, double Valiant Pain. But I figured that because I have access to a lot of card draw with coin bonuses and Dracloaks, it'd be pretty likely that they'd be able to evolve the Goldingo, so I really don't want to risk it. And so putting the damage onto the one that was already evolved has a higher likelihood of that one being set into the active, because they want to send it out to get the coin bonus to, progress the rest of their gameplay. So, I do actually manage to get that correctly and get a little bit of extra damage here, which is going to help out a lot as we're able to pull out the Cramorant off of the Hops bag and replace the stadium here. So now all I would need is a Hops Choice Band in order to get the knockout here. Unfortunately, we do miss it, so I am going to have to go ahead and for alternative play here. I'm going to be burning the double switch, and the reason for that is I actually really want to put a a Spiky Energy onto my Cramorant here, because it can allow me to get even closer to a knockout against this Goldingo in the future. And like if they hit this Cramorant, then I only need a couple pains, and the Fezandipiti is also really close to being knocked out anyways, so I'd much rather work on that. So my opponent is going to have access to a lot of cards here, between double coin bonus, between double Dracloak, so I think it's really rough for me, but it's not the worst position in the world, as we've set ourselves up pretty well to deal with the situation. And saying the Jet Energy will give me an option to switch out later, which is perfectly fine. I am saying on a Bloodmoon Ursaluna in my hand currently, which can go ahead and just burn itself up. Unfortunately, I still have the parent with an Iron Valiant, but honestly that shouldn't be too difficult, as I could just go ahead, move Iron Valiant out of the active onto the other Valiant and then Jet Energy up. But I can't really be thinking about that currently, as I am still really behind on prizes. My opponent has taken 2 more prizes, but thankfully the Cramorant does not matter that much. And we're going to go ahead and be looking to hopefully take a knockout against the Goldingo in the active, which I could do with both the Switch and the manual treat that I got off my Future Booster capsule. And which is nice, because now this is going to allow me to send in another Cramorant and get even more chip damage in. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Go ahead and Nest Ball the Cramorant out, put the belt on it, and then also Jet Energy up. It's kind of nice that I was able to save this Jet Energy here, though it doesn't matter for exactly paying the cost of the attack. It's just nice to have the additional switching out option. And then I'm also going to go ahead and just discard the Squawkabilly, just so if they Roxanne, or I guess Roxanne's banned now, but I guess if they Iona me, then I don't end up drawing into the Squawkabilly later, or this Iron Valley goes to the bottom of the deck. It just seems like those cards would be useless, so it's a good time to thin them out. And I could have maybe done the same thing with the Surfer in my hand too, but I still think that has a little bit of merit, in case if I end up redrawing into it. But, my opponent's still not in a good spot here, as a Zacian swing into the active will be a pretty clean knockout. And they'll have a really good way of getting the attacker out here. They'd have to have a play Crispin and attach a Stray Energy to Goldingo so it can retreat, and then attach a Sidekick to Dragonbolt. But, that's not the case here, as we can just go ahead, put down Zacian, swap in. And thanks to the damage buffs that we already have, we just go ahead and sweep for 90 onto the active, knocking it out and taking out the Fezandipiti. And one thing that's kind of nice about this deck is that you aren't forced to go for multi-prize knockouts super often. And what's cool about that is you are restricting the amount of times your opponent gets a draw off Fezandipiti's Flip the Script. I think it's a no-brainer how good the card is right now for just giving you extra value throughout the game. If already Greninja drew you like 2 cards at a turn, Fezandipiti draws you almost 1.5 times as much once it starts to get online. I don't think it's nearly as efficient as Greninja, but it's still, quite good. And so, being able to take multiple knockouts in one turn is both for one, allowing you to come back from a bad situation, but also because it denies your opponent chances to draw off of the Fezandipiti. Here, I chose to go first. I don't know why I chose to do that. This is definitely a going second deck because you really need to be hitting the opponent as much as possible. I think my excuse is that my dogs are barking at the time that I was doing this, so, it is what it is, but regardless, we seem to be playing against Raging Bolt, Teal Mask, as Regidrago is no longer allowed. Oh my goodness, it's such a thought. And yeah, we do see like the energy here. I think that this is a good time to talk about this deck. It's something that's like sketchier play patterns. It's kind of the reason why I don't think this deck can ultimately be like super meta, because I'm working really hard to get all my kills, right? I'm definitely putting in a lot more effort than my opponent is for the most part. And you have to figure things out in the future a lot. Like, you have to future plan a lot of your turns out. So it becomes really, really rough to plan out all this stuff. And I think, like, the level of reward you get off of it is not great enough compared to some of the other decks that you'd be playing. Like, I think the best thing this deck has going for it is, like, almost its dog potential. It has the potential of just, like, swinging an early game board state really hard and punishing the opponent if they don't have a good start. And opponent is trying to rely on Badoo too. Like, Zacian is just perfect for killing Badoos. But I think with how prevalent Monkey Dory is, for example, it becomes really hard to justify a deck like this because they can so easily just screw up your math if they have Monkey Dory available to them. Which is why I'm like not super keen on this version specifically being the best build. As if we start to see more Monkey Dory centric decks rise up, then it can be rough. But, I mean, there's one nice thing about it, and that can one-shot, like, Clefairy, and you put chip damage through Pikachu, and knock it out later. And having the Valiant Beans are really flexible. Like, Valiant's one of my favorite cards because of how much you can do with it. And so, I think that part of the deck might be a little bit slept on. Like, Iron Valiant is just such a good card. It allows you to go through so many situations. Like, Terra Pokemon can't normally be hit by bench damage, right? But Iron Valiant bypasses that, which gives it a huge niche. Like, you can hit through Pikachu and all that. And then Cramorant's also insane. Like, Cramorant swinging for 210 for 0 energy is, like, wild. And not to mention the extra damage you get off, like, Spiky Energy, perhaps, right? Anyways, all that ranting to say, my opponent is in a dog shit spot here. They end up having an attack by Zacian that has the Spike Energy on it, which means I get to do the silly thing of just pressing Switch, going to Valiant, setting myself up to knock out the Squawkabilly, and then putting some chip damage onto the Hoo-Hoo for game. My dumbass ends up moving it over to the Teal Mask, but hey, I'm going to use the Dogs or Bark excuse again, so there's that. Regardless, my opponent's still in a really bad spot, right? Like, the 30 damage on the Hoo-Hoo would have been extremely good, but they still don't have anything going for them, and this Nest Ball onto the Rotothane is way too late to get them to come back into the game. Thinking about it, why the fuck did I put that Squawkabilly in the game? Why am I just now realizing that? Anyways, on to more capable opponents, I guess. I didn't get to play a lot with this deck, as I was pretty busy to try and do a bunch of other things, and I was having issues trying to get my video editing program to work at all today. So that's where we're at. We are going to be playing against a Charganet. If my opponent doesn't start with another Pokemon, then I can actually like straight up just dog them with my current hand. They do put down a Fezandipiti, unfortunately, so I guess we'll have to play the game boringly. This is the first time I'm actually putting down the Squawk, which is surprising because I feel like Squawk is a cornerstone piece in the deck. You really don't have another way of gaining a lot of burst draw power, and so Squawkabilly being there to like set you up in the early game seems really important. It just sucks that in the first game I, benched Bloodmoon, and then the second game I just didn't need it or didn't even hit it. It was one of those two. Regardless, we can just start putting damage onto the Fezandipiti here and set it up as their target for harassment through the game, as they'll probably be receiving all the Zacian and Iron Valiant pains. And taking out the Charcanet is really, really good for me, as it allows me to just completely and utterly stop them from doing anything currently. I suppose there's always the opportunity for Salvatore, but I don't think they have enough energies in this card for Salvatore to be a viable line for them at the moment. They also put down the Reverroom, which is or the Varoom, sorry, which is a little bit concerning, as it could give them a consistent, sustainable way of drawing through their deck, which I don't like on top of the Fezandipiti. And they even Ultra Ball for the Reverroom. So what that tells me is, one, you'll ever Ultra Ball for the Evolution if you're not going to put it down, just because there's so many things that can stop that from happening. But two, it tells me that their hand might be a little bit desperate for card draw right now, which is why I'm going to take the opportunity to use the boss that was in my hand in order to take out this Varoom. I had to find a single price knockout somewhere else in the game anyways, and so I figured knocking out a part of their draw engine could be good for just stomping them out. Unfortunately, the Fezandipiti is still in play, and I could have chose to knock it out, but I figured the Varoom would have been really annoying to get past later, and at this moment, I've already committed a lot of damage onto the Fezandipiti, so I'd rather just keep making it, my target for pains and such. That way, I can take it out later with other tools, as opposed to forcing myself to, restart again on a new Charcanet, or more likely the Reverroom, because I can guarantee that its HP will stay at a minimum as opposed to, evolving such. We're going to go ahead and use the Kieran for good value here, and the Kieran's going to allow us to swing for 240. Unfortunately, I know because of the Larry skill that they have a boss's orders in their hand, so I know they're going to boss up likely my Fezandipiti here. And my Spike Energy is not going to go off, which sucks a lot for me. But they don't have a lot of cards in their hand, and I am about to judge up their hand, I believe. So we're just going to go ahead and go and search your deck for a Nest Ball. I am contemplating whether or not I want to grab Bloodmoon or not, because of the extra HP. It might possibly live an attack, but I figured the likelihood that Bloodmoon's HP actually matters is so microscopically slim that I'm just not going to risk it. I'd rather go for the Zacian, because the Zacian attacks, at least I can pain something. But I'm in a bad spot still, and I really can't do much. So I'm going to go ahead and just send the Cramorant into the active, and hope they can bail me out of the situation. Because if they end up having the swing into this Cramorant here, it is just one pain away from killing Iron Valiant, and I really don't have another middle ground play, so I might as well sack the Pokemon that doesn't do anything for the rest of the game, besides put 20 damage on the opponent for hitting it. And they're going to go ahead and Larry skill again, presumably for a boss's orders, but they actually, spoiler, don't take a boss's orders. I'm not quite sure why, but honestly it doesn't matter at this rate. As they have, a complete board setup here, and I really can't do anything else about it. So I'm just going to have to go ahead and send in my Iron Valiant, and I'm going to go ahead and switch into the Iron Valiant immediately, kind of because I know this is either a win or lose situation, and I'd rather see what two cards are my prizes first before I give up my free switch. And now I'm just I don't know what to do. In my head, I'm thinking I lost, because there's no way for me to get past the Sarah Ledge here. And then Arven is like, oh shit, I have Prime Catcher in the deck. Oops. And Prime Catcher is just going to go ahead and allow me to knock out the Fez and pull the Zacian up and take the knockout here. So overall, I think this deck is okay. It might have some more potential, but I feel like it's a modest tier 3 deck at most. But it is fun. That's the most important part. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe. I'll be posting more Journey Together videos in the near future, and yeah,